I'd been in labor for 19 hours. 19 hours of contractions that felt like my body was being torn apart from the inside. 19 hours of breathing through pain while my husband, Marcus, held my hand and my mother-in-law texted him every 30 minutes telling him I was being overdramatic and that I should stop making such a scene. I was exhausted, vulnerable, and in the most intense pain of my life when I finally pushed our daughter into the world. The room erupted with the sounds of her crying, the doctors congratulating me, Marcus sobbing with joy. For 30 seconds, it was perfect. Then Diane Walker pushed her way into my delivery room, past the nurse who tried to stop her, past the immediate family-only rule I'd specifically set, and looked at my newborn daughter with an expression of pure disgust. "It's so ugly," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "It can't be my son's. Look at that face. Are you sure about the paternity?" The nurse gasped. Marcus froze. And I, exhausted, bleeding, holding my minutes-old daughter, pressed the call button and said clearly, "Get security. Now." Because what Diane Walker didn't know was that I'd requested a security alert on my file. What she didn't know was that the hospital had her flagged in their system for something that had happened 3 years ago. Something she'd managed to keep hidden from her family. Something that security was very interested to know. She'd violated her hospital ban to be here. When security arrived and recognized her, when they revealed her dark secret in front of my entire family, Diane's carefully constructed life imploded in less than 5 minutes. And my daughter's first day on Earth became the day her grandmother was escorted out in handcuffs, screaming about discrimination and false accusations while everyone finally learned the truth about Diane Walker. Let me back up. Because you need to understand the 19 hours of labor hell that led to this moment. You need to know about the text Diane sent while I was in pain, the pattern of cruelty she'd shown throughout my pregnancy, and the secret she'd been hiding, the one that hospital security exposed when she broke the terms of her ban to insult my newborn baby. This isn't just a story about a mother-in-law who called a baby ugly. It's a story about a woman whose cruelty finally caught up with her in the most public, devastating way possible. My name is Zara Ahmed, and I'm a 29-year-old pharmacist in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm Pakistani-American. My parents immigrated from Karachi when I was 3, and I grew up navigating 2 cultures, 2 languages, 2 sets of expectations. My parents wanted me to be successful and independent, but also traditional and modest. It was a balancing act I'd learned to manage well. I met Marcus Walker at the hospital where I worked. He was 31, a physical therapist, with warm brown skin, kind dark eyes, and the kind of genuine smile that made patients trust him immediately. Marcus was Black American, from Atlanta, from a family that had been in the city for generations. He had roots while I had immigration stories. He knew exactly who he was while I was still figuring out how to be both Pakistani and American. "You're the pharmacist everyone talks about," he said the first time we formally met. Though we'd passed each other in hallways for months, the one who caught Dr. Morrison's prescription error last week. "Just doing my job," I said, but I was pleased he'd noticed. That prescription error could have killed someone. "You saved a life," he paused. "Want to grab coffee sometime and you can tell me about all the other lives you've saved that I don't know about?" We talked for 3 hours at that coffee shop. He told me about growing up in Atlanta, about his passion for helping people recover from injuries, about his dream of opening his own physical therapy practice. I told him about immigrating as a child, about studying pharmacy, about my parents' restaurant, and how I sometimes missed Karachi, even though I barely remembered it. "You're bridging worlds," Marcus said. "That takes strength. So are you," I said. "Being a Black man in healthcare. That's not easy." "No," he agreed. "But it's worth it. Representation matters." We dated for 2 years before getting engaged. I loved Marcus deeply, his kindness, his integrity, his gentle strength. My parents adored him, which was significant. "He's a good man," my father said in Urdu after meeting Marcus. "He respects you. That's what matters." But there was a complication. Diane Walker, Marcus's mother. I met Diane 4 months into dating Marcus. We drove to her house in a nice suburban neighborhood, one of those places with big lawns and neighborhood associations. Diane's house was immaculate. everything white and beige and carefully coordinated. She answered the door in expensive athleisure wear, her hair in perfect box braids, her nails manicured, her jewelry subtle but clearly costly. Diane Walker was 55, beautiful, polished, and immediately cold to me. "So you're the girl Marcus has been seeing," she said, looking me up and down. "Not nice to meet you or welcome, just assessment. Zara, is it? That's exotic." "It's Pakistani," I said evenly, recognizing the microaggression immediately. Marcus didn't mention you weren't American." "I am American," I said. "I've lived here since I was 3. Of course, of course. I just meant," she waved her hand vaguely. "Well, come in. Let's see if we have anything in common." Lunch was uncomfortable. Diane dominated conversation, talking about her work as a real estate agent, her success, her country club, her friends. She asked pointed questions about my family. What did my father do? Owned a restaurant which she wrinkled her nose at. Where did I grow up? Apartment in a diverse neighborhood, which she clearly considered beneath her standards. Did I plan to keep working after marriage? Yes, which she said was ambitious, but exhausting for a wife. Every comment was designed to put me in my place, to establish that I wasn't good enough for her son. "Marcus dated a girl named Nicole before you," Diane said, showing me photos uninvited. "She was so lovely, a lawyer, from a good family. I was devastated when they broke up." "Mom," Marcus said, uncomfortable. "That's not appropriate." "I'm just sharing family history," Diane said innocently. "Zara should know about the women who came before her." After lunch, in the car, I asked Marcus directly, "Your mother doesn't like me." "She's protective," Marcus said. "I'm her only son. She just needs time." "It's not about protection," I said. She looked at me and immediately decided I wasn't good enough. "Because I'm immigrant, because I'm not black, because my family isn't wealthy." She's already made up her mind. "Give her a chance," Marcus said. "She'll come around." But Diane never came around. Over the next year and a half, she found new ways to make me feel unwelcome. She'd schedule family events without telling me, then act surprised when I wasn't there. She'd make comments about cultural differences whenever I did anything she didn't like. She'd tell Marcus stories about his ex-girlfriend Nicole unprompted, always emphasizing how compatible they'd been. When Marcus proposed at the Botanical Gardens, with a ring he'd saved for months to buy, Diane's response was tepid. "Engaged already? You've only been together 2 years. Don't you think you should wait? Make sure you're compatible?" "We are compatible, Mom," Marcus said firmly. "If you say so, darling. I just want you to be sure. Marriage is serious, especially when you're marrying outside your culture." "Zara is American," Marcus said, frustration clear. "And what does outside your culture even mean?" "You know what I mean," Diane said. "You're black, she's not. There will be challenges." "Every marriage has challenges," Marcus said, "and Zara and I will face them together." The wedding planning was a nightmare. Diane had opinions about everything and framed them as just trying to help. The venue was too small. My dress was too traditional. I'd chosen something that honored both Pakistani and Western styles. The guest list had too many of my family members. The food should be more American. We were having both Pakistani and Southern soul food, representing both our backgrounds. "People won't know what to eat," Diane complained about the menu. "Biryani? What even is that?" "It's delicious," Marcus said. "You'll like it." "I'm just thinking about our guests," Diane said. "Your cousins, your aunts and uncles. They won't be comfortable with foreign food." "Then they can eat the fried chicken and collard greens," I said, my patience finally snapping. "There's plenty of familiar food. The Pakistani dishes are for my family and for anyone who wants to try something new." "No need to get defensive," Diane said. "I'm just offering suggestions." But they weren't suggestions. They were attempts to erase my culture from my own wedding, my parents noticed. "That woman doesn't respect you," my mother said in Urdu. "She doesn't respect our family." "I know, Ami," I said. "But I love Marcus, and he's worth dealing with his mother." "Just be careful," my father warned. "Women like that don't change. They only get worse when grandchildren come." I should have listened to him. The wedding was beautiful despite Diane's interference. My family's colorful shalwar kameez and saris mixed with Marcus's family's elegant suits and dresses. The food was incredible, both cultures represented perfectly. My father walked me down the aisle while Marcus's cousin sang. It was everything I'd wanted, except for Diane, who wore white. Not cream, not ivory, bright white. At her son's wedding to a non-white woman, she wore white, pulling focus, making a statement about who she thought belonged in a wedding dress. Is she serious? My sister Aisha whispered. That's so disrespectful. Let it go, I said. It's just one day, but it wasn't just one day. It was a preview of how Diane would treat me forever. Marcus and I moved into an apartment in Atlanta, started our married life working demanding healthcare jobs, supporting each other through long shifts and exhausting days. We were happy despite his mother's constant interference. Diane called Marcus daily, showed up at our apartment unannounced, had opinions about our furniture, our food, our decisions. She made comments about when we'd have children and whether they'd look like the Walker family or take after Zara's side. What does that even mean? I asked Marcus after one particularly offensive comment. I don't know, Marcus admitted, but I'll talk to her. He always said he'd talk to her. And he did. And she'd apologize vaguely, then continue the same behavior. When I got pregnant after a year of marriage, I was thrilled and terrified. Thrilled to start our family. Terrified of how Diane would be about this baby. We waited until 12 weeks to tell people. My parents cried happy tears and immediately started planning, talking about traditional Pakistani baby items they'd send from family in Karachi. Marcus's father, divorced from Diane for 10 years, was genuinely happy for us. Diane's reaction was complicated. Pregnant. Oh my. Well, I suppose that's exciting. She paused. Have you thought about genetic testing? To make sure everything is normal? With mixed genetics, sometimes there are complications. Mixed genetics? I repeated, cold fury building. What are you suggesting? I'm not suggesting anything, Diane said quickly. I'm just saying that when you combine different ethnicities, sometimes there are health issues. I'm thinking of the baby. The baby will be fine, Marcus said firmly. Zara and I are both healthy. Our baby will be healthy. If you say so, Diane said. I just want you to be prepared. Over the next 7 months, Diane found new ways to make my pregnancy miserable. She sent articles about pregnancy complications in mixed-race babies, which is not a medical concern, but try telling Diane that. She questioned every decision I made. My doctor should be someone who understands your type. My diet? Was I eating American food or too much spicy Pakistani food? My work schedule, working until 36 weeks, was bad for the baby. She's driving me insane, I told Marcus when I was 6 months pregnant. Every day another criticism, another implication that I'm doing everything wrong. I'll talk to her, Marcus said for the 100th time. Talking doesn't work, I said. She doesn't respect me. She doesn't respect our baby. She's already decided that because I'm Pakistani and you're black, our baby will be somehow defective. She doesn't think that. She literally said mixed genetics cause complications, I interrupted. What else does that mean? Marcus had no good answer. When I was 8 months pregnant, I made a decision. Diane would not be in the delivery room. Only Marcus. Maybe my mother if I decided I wanted her, but not Diane. I didn't want her negative energy, her criticisms, her implications that something would be wrong with our baby, anywhere near me during labor. I need to tell my mom she can't be there, Marcus said nervously. Then tell her, I said. This is my medical procedure. I get to decide who's present, Marcus told her. Diane's reaction was explosive. You're keeping me from meeting my grandchild? What kind of wife turns a son against his mother? Zara didn't turn me against anyone, Marcus said. This is her decision about her labor. You can meet the baby after. After? After! I'm the grandmother! I have rights. You have no rights in a delivery room, Marcus said firmly. Zara decides who's there, and she's decided it's just me. Diane hung up on him. Then she texted him every day for the next month, alternating between guilt trips and manipulation. I've been there for you your whole life, and this is how you repay me? That woman is stealing my son and my grandchild. Don't you want your mother to support you during this important time? I put my foot down. Block her or forward her messages to me so I can document them. But I'm not dealing with her harassment while I'm trying to prepare for labor. Marcus forwarded them to me. I saved every single one, building a file of Diane's behavior just in case we needed evidence later. My due date was March 15th. On March 14th, at 3 a.m., my water broke. We grabbed our hospital bag and drove to Grady Memorial Hospital, where I'd be delivering. I was nervous but excited. This was it. We were going to meet our daughter. What I didn't know was that Diane had been monitoring Marcus's location on his phone, something he'd forgotten to turn off. What I didn't know was that she would show up at the hospital despite not being invited. What I didn't know was that Grady Memorial had Diane Walker flagged in their system for something that had happened 3 years ago. Something she'd managed to keep hidden from Marcus. And what I definitely didn't know was that my labor would last 19 hours. Diane would text Marcus constant criticism the entire time, and when our daughter was finally born, Diane would call her ugly and question paternity in front of hospital staff. But hospital security would have the last word. And what they revealed would change everything. Labor started gradually. Contractions that were uncomfortable but manageable, spaced far enough apart that I could breathe between them. The nurses got me settled in a delivery room, checked my progress, 4 centimeters dilated, and said it would be a while. First babies take time, the nurse, a kind woman named Sharon, told me. Get comfortable. Rest when you can. Marcus held my hand, timed contractions, got me ice chips. For the first few hours, it was just us preparing to meet our daughter. It was intimate, special, exactly what I'd wanted. Then Marcus's phone started buzzing. Text after text from his mother. Is she in labor? Why didn't you tell me? I'm your mother. I should have been informed. How dilated is she? I'm coming to the hospital, Marcus texted back. Mom, we talked about this. No visitors until after the baby is born. I'll let you know when she arrives. Diane's response. I'm not a visitor. I'm the grandmother. I'm coming. No, Marcus texted. Please respect our decision. But the text didn't stop. Every 30 minutes, Diane sent another message. At first, they were wheedling. Just let me sit in the waiting room. I won't bother you. Then they turned accusatory. You're letting her family come, but not me, aren't you? My parents were not there. We told them the same thing we told Diane. Then they turned mean. She's being dramatic. First-time mothers always exaggerate the pain. Tell her to stop making such a scene. Labor is natural. Women do it every day. If she can't handle labor, how is she going to handle motherhood? I was 7 centimeters dilated, in excruciating pain, when that last text came through. Marcus made the mistake of reading it aloud, thinking it was from the nurse's station. Your mother thinks I'm being dramatic? I said through gritted teeth during a contraction. Tell her to come here and try this. I'm not telling her anything, Marcus said, looking guilty. I'm sorry. I should have blocked her. Yes, you should have, I said. Then another contraction hit and I couldn't speak. Just breathe through pain that felt like my body was splitting apart. Between contractions, during the few seconds of relief, I asked Marcus to show me Diane's messages. All of them. The criticism, the doubt, the implications that I was exaggerating or performing. Document these, I told him. Screenshot every message. I want proof. Proof of what? That your mother has been harassing me during labor, I said. If she shows up here, if she violates our boundaries, I want documentation. Marcus took screenshots. Dozens of them. Diane's cruelty captured in text messages sent while I was in the most vulnerable moment of my life. At hour 12, the pain became unbearable. I asked for an epidural. The anesthesiologist came, administered it, and blessed relief followed. I could finally rest between contractions instead of just surviving them. You're doing great, Marcus said, holding my hand. Your mother thinks I'm being dramatic, I said, exhaustion making me honest. She's never liked me, Marcus, and she's going to hate our baby because she's mixed. She won't hate our baby. She already does, I interrupted. All those comments about mixed genetics and complications? She's already decided our daughter is wrong somehow, because she's ours, because she's not purely black, not purely Pakistani, but both and neither. Marcus looked devastated because he knew I was right. Around hour 15, my doctor checked my progress. You're at 9 centimeters, almost there. Another hour or so and we'll be ready to push. 1 more hour. I could do 1 more hour, except Marcus's phone kept buzzing. Diane, unrelenting. Have you had the baby yet? Why is this taking so long? She's probably not even in real labor. Some women milk it for attention. If she's taking this long, maybe there's something wrong with the baby. That last text made Marcus finally block her number. I'm done, he said. She's out of line, way out of line. But it was too late. The damage was done. Diane had spent 19 hours texting criticisms while I labored. 19 hours of implying I was dramatic, attention-seeking, problematic. And now she was suggesting something might be wrong with our baby because labor was taking too long, which was completely normal for first-time mothers. But Diane didn't care about facts. At hour 18, I was ready to push. The epidural had worn off slightly, enough that I could feel pressure and know when to push, but not so much that the pain was unbearable. The room filled with nurses, my doctor, equipment. Marcus stood beside me, holding my hand, coaching me through breathing. Okay, Zara, Dr. Patel said. On the next contraction, I want you to push. Big push. You can do this. I pushed and pushed and pushed. Each push taking everything I had, every ounce of strength, every bit of determination. I can see the head. Dr. Patel said, 1 more big push. I pushed with everything I had left, and suddenly, pressure and release and the sound of crying. My daughter, our daughter, born at 10:47 p.m. after 19 hours of labor. It's a girl, Dr. Patel announced, though we already knew. A beautiful, healthy girl. They placed her on my chest. She was perfect, tiny, perfect, with a head of dark hair and skin that was a beautiful blend of Marcus's brown and my olive tan. Her eyes were closed, her face scrunched up, her little fists waving. She was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. Oh my God, Marcus sobbed. Zara, she's perfect. She's so perfect. For 30 seconds, we existed in a bubble of pure joy. Just us and our daughter, the family we'd created, the life we'd brought into the world. Then the door burst open. Diane Walker pushed past Nurse Sharon, who tried to stop her and marched into my delivery room like she owned the place. Where's my grandchild? She demanded. I've been waiting 19 hours. Ma'am, you can't be in here, Sharon said firmly. Only authorized visitors. I'm the grandmother, Diane said, as if that trumped all hospital rules and my explicit wishes. She walked right up to my bedside, looked down at my minutes-old daughter lying on my chest, and her face twisted with disgust. It's so ugly, she said, loud and clear. Look at that face. That hair, that skin color. It can't be my son's. Are you sure about paternity? Did you get that tested? The room went silent. Sharon gasped. Dr. Patel froze, instruments still in her hands. Marcus's mouth dropped open in shock. And I, exhausted, bleeding, holding my newborn daughter, who Diane had just called ugly and implied wasn't Marcus's, felt rage like I'd never experienced. I reached for the call button on my bed and pressed it. Then I said clearly, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Get security, now. This woman is violating hospital policy and harassing me in my recovery." Harassing you? Diane scoffed. I'm stating facts. That baby doesn't look like Walker family. Did you even— Security, I repeated into the call button. Room 347. Unauthorized visitor making false accusations. Remove her immediately. You can't kick me out. I'm the grandmother. You're an unauthorized visitor, I said coldly. I specifically said no visitors except my husband. You violated that. And now you're questioning my daughter's paternity and calling her ugly. Get out. Marcus, tell her— Diane turned to her son. Marcus looked at his mother with an expression I'd never seen before. You called my daughter ugly. You questioned whether she's mine. Get out, Mom, now. But I'm your mother. You just called my newborn daughter ugly and implied my wife cheated on me, Marcus said, his voice shaking with rage. Get out. Security arrived. 2 officers, a man and a woman, both in Grady Memorial uniforms. The female officer, whose badge read Officer Jameson, stepped into the room. We have an unauthorized visitor. She started, then stopped, looking directly at Diane. Mrs. Walker? Diane Walker? Diane's face went pale. Yes, but I'm just here to see my grandchild. Mrs. Walker, you're banned from this hospital, Officer Jameson said firmly. You know you're not allowed on these premises. The room went completely silent. Even my newborn daughter stopped crying. Banned? Marcus repeated. What are you talking about? Officer Jameson looked at Marcus, then at me, then back at Diane. You didn't tell your family? There's nothing to tell, Diane said quickly. This is a misunderstanding. 3 years ago, Officer Jameson said, Mrs. Walker was banned from Grady Memorial after an incident in the maternity ward. She impersonated a nurse and attempted to take an infant from the nursery. The baby wasn't related to her. She was stopped by security and charged with attempted kidnapping. As part of her plea deal, she was banned from all Grady Memorial facilities. The room erupted. Nurse Sharon gasped. Dr. Patel looked horrified. I clutched my daughter closer, and Marcus looked like his entire world had just shattered. Mom, Marcus said slowly, you tried to kidnap a baby? It wasn't like that, Diane said desperately. It was a misunderstanding. The baby looked like you did when you were born, and I thought I wasn't thinking clearly. You tried to steal someone's baby? Marcus's voice rose. And you never told me? I was embarrassed. It was a mistake. I was going through a difficult time. What difficult time? Marcus demanded. 3 years ago, you were fine. We had Sunday dinners together. You never mentioned being arrested. I wasn't arrested, Diane said quickly. I took a plea deal, therapy and probation. I've completed everything. I'm not a danger. You're banned from this hospital for attempted kidnapping and you came anyway, Officer Jameson said. That violates the terms of your ban. You're trespassing. And you made false accusations about paternity, which constitutes harassment. She pulled out handcuffs. Mrs. Walker, you need to come with us. You're arresting me? For visiting my grandchild? We're arresting you for trespassing in a facility you're banned from, violating a court order, and harassment of a patient, Officer Jameson said. You have the right to remain silent. I watched, stunned, as they read Diane her rights and handcuffed her. Diane was crying now, dramatic tears looking at Marcus. Don't let them do this! I'm your mother. Tell them this is wrong. Marcus just stared at her, betrayed and horrified. You tried to kidnap a baby. You never told me. You broke into this hospital where you're banned. You called my daughter ugly and questioned her paternity. I don't even know who you are. I'm your mother. No, Marcus said quietly. My mother wouldn't do these things. I don't know who you are. They led Diane away, still crying, still protesting. The door closed behind them, leaving sudden silence in the delivery room. Nurse Sharon recovered first. I'm so sorry you had to deal with that. Are you okay? I looked down at my daughter, still in my arms, perfect and precious and mine. I'm okay. Is she okay? The stress, she's perfect, Dr. Patel assured me. Let's get you both cleaned up and moved to recovery. We'll make sure security knows Mrs. Walker is absolutely not allowed near your room. As they helped me clean up and prepare to move rooms, Marcus sat in a chair, his head in his hands, processing the revelation about his mother. Did you know? I asked gently. About 3 years ago, about her being banned? No, Marcus said, his voice hollow. I had no idea. She never said anything. We talked every week back then. She never mentioned being arrested or banned from a hospital or trying to take someone's baby. He looked up at me, devastated. What else don't I know about her? I don't know, I said honestly. But Marcus, she tried to kidnap a baby. And tonight she called our daughter ugly and questioned paternity. Whatever else she might have hidden, what matters is she's shown us who she is now. I can't believe she tried to steal a baby, Marcus kept saying. Whose baby? Why? Those were good questions. And as we'd find out over the next few days, the answers were even more disturbing than we'd imagined. We were moved to a recovery room on a different floor, far from where Diane had been arrested. Security posted an officer outside our door, not because we were in danger, but because Diane was now officially banned from the entire hospital and they wanted to ensure she didn't somehow return. Our daughter, we named her Layla, which means night in Arabic, and was also a name Marcus loved, was perfect. She nursed well, slept in short bursts, made the tiny newborn sounds that melted my heart. For a few hours we existed in the bubble of new parenthood, exhausted but happy. Then Marcus's phone started ringing. His father, Michael, who Diane had divorced 10 years ago, but who'd remained cordial with Marcus. Marcus, what the hell happened? Michael said when Marcus answered on speaker. I just got a call from Diane's lawyer. She's been arrested at the hospital for trespassing and harassment. It's more than that, Dad, Marcus said, and explained everything. The 19 hours of cruel texts, Diane bursting into the delivery room, calling Layla ugly, questioning paternity, and then the revelation from security. Silence on the other end. Then, oh God, she did it again. Again? Marcus and I said simultaneously. 3 years ago wasn't the first time, Michael said heavily. Marcus, your mother has issues. Issues I didn't fully understand when we were married. Issues that got worse after our divorce. What kind of issues? Marcus demanded. She's obsessed with babies, Michael said. Specifically, with the idea of grandchildren who look a certain way. When we were married, she used to talk about having more kids, even though we'd agreed we were done after you. She'd see babies and get this look in her eyes, like she wanted to take them. I thought it was just maternal instinct gone overboard. But after the divorce, it got worse. How much worse? I asked. There was an incident at her church, Michael said. She volunteered in the nursery and got too attached to one of the babies. The parents complained she wouldn't give their baby back when they came to pick her up, that she was calling the baby her granddaughter. The church asked her to stop volunteering. When was this? Marcus asked. About 4 years ago, a year before the hospital incident. And you didn't tell me any of this? I thought she was getting help, Michael said defensively. She told me she was seeing a therapist. I didn't want to worry you or make you think your mother was unstable. She's your mom. I thought she'd get better. Instead, she tried to kidnap a baby from Grady Memorial, Marcus said flatly. Tell me what happened there, Michael said. The real story, not whatever Diane told her lawyer. I pulled up the hospital incident report on my phone. Nurse Sharon had given us access to the summary for our records. I read it aloud. 3 years ago, March 18th, Diane Walker entered Grady Memorial Hospital claiming to be visiting a friend. She was observed in the maternity ward acting suspiciously. Security footage showed her entering the nursery wearing scrubs that she had obtained from a supply closet, claiming to be a nurse. She attempted to remove an infant from the nursery, stating the baby's mother had requested she bring the baby for feeding. Staff became suspicious because the baby in question was exclusively formula-fed and the mother was in a different ward. When confronted, Mrs. Walker became agitated and claimed the baby looked like her grandson and she was just trying to help. Security detained her. Police were called, and she was charged with attempted kidnapping, trespassing, and impersonating medical personnel. Michael sighed heavily. I knew some of this, but I didn't know she'd impersonated a nurse. That's serious mental illness, Marcus. Why didn't anyone tell me? Marcus asked, pain clear in his voice. I'm her son. I had a right to know my mother tried to kidnap a baby. She begged me not to tell you, Michael said. She was humiliated. She said she'd get help, that it was a one-time breakdown. She took a plea deal. Probation, therapy, hospital ban. I thought she'd learned her lesson. Clearly she didn't, I said. Because tonight she violated that ban to call our daughter ugly and question paternity. Those don't sound like the actions of someone who's learned anything. I'm so sorry, Zara, Michael said genuinely. You didn't deserve that. No one deserves that, especially not right after giving birth. After we hung up, Marcus and I sat in silence, processing. Layla slept peacefully in my arms, unaware that her grandmother had tried to kidnap someone else's baby 3 years ago and tonight had called her ugly minutes after birth. What was she planning? I asked quietly. Tonight, I mean. She knew she was banned from this hospital. She came anyway. What did she think would happen? I don't know, Marcus said. Maybe she thought enough time had passed that security wouldn't recognize her. Maybe she didn't care. Maybe she's so obsessed with grandchildren that nothing else mattered. But why question paternity? I asked. Why call Layla ugly? That's the opposite of being obsessed with grandchildren. Marcus was quiet, thinking. Then, Layla doesn't look the way Mom wanted her to look. What do you mean? Think about all her comments during your pregnancy, Marcus said. About mixed genetics and complications and asking if we'd do genetic testing. She was worried Layla wouldn't look black enough, or specifically, wouldn't look like the Walker family. My dad's family, Mom's family, we're all dark-skinned Black Americans. And Layla is beautiful and perfect with her own coloring that's both of us, I finished. You're brown and my olive tan. She's exactly what a baby of ours should look like. But not what Mom wanted, Marcus said bitterly. She wanted a baby she could claim as fully hers, fully Walker family. And when Layla didn't look the way she expected, she rejected her, called her ugly, questioned paternity. That's sick, I said. That's genuinely disturbed thinking. It is, Marcus agreed. And I'm realizing I don't really know my mother at all. Over the next 2 days in the hospital, we learned more. Officer Jameson stopped by with additional information, not gossip, but facts we had a right to know since Diane had been arrested in our room. The baby Mrs. Walker tried to take 3 years ago, Officer Jameson explained, was a newborn girl, light-skinned. The mother was black, the father was white. The baby had lighter skin than typical black infants, and Mrs. Walker fixated on that. She told police the baby looked like she should be hers because of the skin tone. I felt sick. She tried to steal a baby based on skin color? The psychological evaluation at the time suggested Mrs. Walker had developed an obsession with having a grandchild of a specific appearance, Officer Jameson said carefully. When her son hadn't had children yet, she apparently fixated on other babies who matched her mental image. That's not normal grief over not having grandchildren, Marcus said. That's a serious mental disorder. The court-mandated therapy, Officer Jameson said. But clearly it wasn't enough. When she violated her hospital ban tonight and made those statements about your daughter, she demonstrated the same pattern: fixation on appearance, rejection of babies who don't meet her criteria, delusional thinking about what she's entitled to. What happens now? I asked. She's been charged with violating a court order, criminal trespassing, and harassment. Given her prior offense, she's unlikely to get another plea deal. She's looking at jail time, probably 6 months to a year. And the hospital ban will be extended to permanent, possibly expanded to other medical facilities in Atlanta. After Officer Jameson left, I nursed Layla and thought about everything we'd learned. Diane Walker had tried to kidnap a baby 3 years ago because of skin color. She'd been banned from Grady Memorial. She'd never told Marcus. She'd hidden it, gotten therapy that clearly didn't work, and then violated her ban to insult our newborn daughter for not looking the way she wanted. I think she came planning to bond with Layla, I said to Marcus. I think she thought if Layla looked right enough, she could somehow be part of her life. But when Layla didn't meet her criteria, she lashed out. By calling her ugly and questioning paternity, Marcus said, making sure everyone knew she didn't accept this baby. Your mother needs serious psychiatric help, I said. More than therapy. Inpatient treatment, maybe. She won't get it, Marcus predicted. She'll claim everyone's against her. That this is discrimination or persecution. She'll never take responsibility. He was right. Over the next week, while we adjusted to life with a newborn at home, Diane's version of events spread through Marcus's extended family. She was telling people she'd been arrested for visiting her grandchild. That I was keeping her grandson away. That she'd been railroaded by overzealous hospital security. She wasn't mentioning the attempted kidnapping 3 years ago. Wasn't mentioning calling Layla ugly or questioning paternity. Wasn't mentioning violating a court-ordered hospital ban. Marcus's phone exploded with calls from relatives. Some believed Diane's version and called Marcus cruel for having his mother arrested. Others asked for the full story and were horrified when they learned the truth. His family split between Team Diane, who believed her victimhood narrative, and Team Marcus, who recognized Diane needed help. My Aunt Carol just called me a disgrace for abandoning my mother in jail. Marcus said, frustrated after another phone call. She says Mom is being discriminated against because she married my father. That this is about interracial relationships. That's not what this is about, I said, exhausted from night feedings and emotional exhaustion. This is about your mother trying to kidnap a baby and then calling ours ugly. I know, but Aunt Carol doesn't believe the kidnapping story. She thinks Mom was just confused, that hospitals overreact. She impersonated a nurse and tried to take someone's baby, I said flatly. That's not confusion. That's a crime. We decided to release the full story, not out of vengeance, but out of necessity. Marcus posted on Facebook, tagging the extended family. I need to address what happened at the hospital. My mother was arrested not for visiting her grandchild, but for violating a court-ordered ban. 3 years ago, she was banned from Grady Memorial after attempting to kidnap an infant by impersonating a nurse. She took a plea deal, was ordered to therapy, and banned from the hospital. Last week, she violated that ban, entered my wife's delivery room without permission, called our newborn daughter ugly, and questioned paternity in front of medical staff. She was arrested for criminal trespassing and harassment. These are facts, not opinions. My mother needs serious psychological help, not enablement. I love her, but I will not pretend this is normal behavior or allow her near my family until she gets real treatment. The response was immediate and divided. Some family members apologized for believing Diane's lies. Others doubled down, claiming Marcus was exaggerating, or that Diane deserved a second chance. She had a second chance, I pointed out. After the kidnapping attempt, this is her third strike, not her second. My parents, watching this drama unfold from a distance, had their own perspective. That woman is not well, my mother said in Urdu when she came to help with Layla. You were right to keep her away. Never let her near your daughter unsupervised. I don't plan to let her near Layla at all, I said. Supervised or not. She called her ugly Ami, minutes after birth. What kind of person does that? A sick person, my mother said. Sick in the head. You protect your baby. That is your only job now. Diane's court date was set for 6 weeks after Layla's birth. Marcus and I attended, not because we wanted to, but because the prosecutor said our testimony might be necessary. We brought the text messages Diane had sent during labor, the hospital incident report, Marcus's father's testimony about Diane's previous concerning behavior. Diane showed up with a lawyer, looking polished and put together, playing the role of respectable grandmother wrongly persecuted. But when the prosecutor presented evidence, security footage of Diane pushing past Nurse Sharon, audio of her calling Layla ugly, her prior attempted kidnapping conviction, the judge's expression hardened. Mrs. Walker, the judge said, you were given a second chance 3 years ago after attempting to abduct an infant. You violated the terms of your probation by entering a facility you were explicitly banned from. You harassed a patient who had just given birth. You made false accusations about paternity. And you showed absolutely no remorse. In fact, you're still claiming you did nothing wrong. I was just trying to see my grandchild, Diane started. You called that grandchild ugly, the judge interrupted. You questioned whether she was your son's child. That's not the behavior of someone who wanted to bond with a grandchild. That's the behavior of someone with serious psychological issues who lashes out when reality doesn't match her delusions. The judge sentenced Diane to 1 year in county jail, 3 years probation after release, mandatory inpatient psychiatric treatment, and permanent bans from all hospitals in the Atlanta area. Furthermore, the judge added, I'm issuing a protective order. Mrs. Walker is to have no contact with Zara Ahmed Walker, Marcus Walker, or the minor child Layla Walker for 5 years. No direct contact, no indirect contact through family members, no social media contact. If she violates this order after her release, she will face additional criminal charges. Diane started crying, not genuine tears but performative ones. You're keeping me from my family. This is cruel. I'm being discriminated against. You discriminated against your own granddaughter, the judge said coldly. You judged an infant based on skin color and rejected her publicly. That tells me everything I need to know about your fitness to be in that child's life. Take her into custody. As they led Diane away, she looked at Marcus one last time. You'll regret this, she said. When she grows up and asks why she doesn't have a grandmother, you'll regret choosing her over me. Her name is Layla, Marcus said quietly. And I'll never regret choosing my daughter over someone who called her ugly. That was the last time Marcus spoke to his mother in person. Over the next year, while Diane served her sentence, Marcus grieved the mother he thought he had while coming to terms with the mother he actually had. Someone with deep psychological issues, racial prejudices she'd hidden, and an obsession with control that manifested in disturbing ways. Do you think she'll ever get better? Marcus asked me when Layla was 6 months old, rolling over and babbling and being perfect. I don't know, I said honestly. She'd have to want to get better. She'd have to take responsibility. And from everything we've seen, she's incapable of that. So this is it. My daughter grows up without a paternal grandmother. She grows up without a toxic, prejudiced woman who tried to kidnap a baby and called her ugly, I corrected. That's not a loss. That's protection, Marcus nodded, watching Layla grab her toes and laugh. You're right. She deserves better than Diane anyway. When Layla was 1 year old, Diane was released from jail. She'd served her full sentence. No early release for good behavior because she'd apparently been difficult even in jail, making complaints and claiming discrimination constantly. We got an alert from the court system. Diane Walker has been released. The protective order remains in effect. She is prohibited from contacting you or coming within 500 feet of your residence, workplace, or the minor child's locations. What if she violates it? I asked Marcus. Then she goes back to jail, Marcus said. The judge was clear. Any violation of the protective order means immediate arrest and additional charges. But we were both nervous. Diane had already shown she didn't respect court orders. She'd violated her hospital ban after all. What would stop her from violating a protective order? We took precautions, security cameras around our house, alerts to Layla's daycare that Diane was absolutely not authorized to pick her up, with her photo distributed to all staff. Notifications to our workplaces that if Diane showed up, security should be called immediately. We're living in fear of your mother, I said to Marcus one night. This isn't sustainable. I know, Marcus said. But what else can we do? She's proven she's unpredictable and obsessive. The answer came from an unexpected source, Diane's court-mandated therapist. 3 months after Diane's release, we received a call from Dr. Patricia Chen, the psychiatrist assigned to Diane's case. I wanted to reach out to you, Dr. Chen said carefully, because I think you should know what we're dealing with. Diane has been diagnosed with a delusional disorder with grandiose features, narcissistic personality disorder, and what we call baby obsession syndrome, an unofficial term for her fixation on infants. Is she getting better? Marcus asked. No, Dr. Chen said bluntly. She's not engaging with treatment. She's going through the motions because it's court-mandated, but she doesn't believe she has a problem. She thinks everyone else is wrong. She's rewritten the hospital incident in her mind so that she's the victim of persecution. So she's still dangerous, I said. I wouldn't say dangerous in the sense of physically violent, Dr. Chen clarified, but dangerous in the sense of boundary violating, delusional, and unable to accept reality. She's fixated on getting her family back, as she puts it. She talks about Layla constantly, but not in a healthy grandmotherly way. She refers to her as the baby that should be mine, and talks about how Layla would be better off raised by her. My stomach dropped. She wants to take Layla? She fantasizes about it, Dr. Chen said carefully. Whether she'd act on it, I can't say. But given her history of attempted kidnapping, I think you should be aware of her thought patterns. Can you testify to this if we need to extend the protective order? Marcus asked. Yes, Dr. Chen said. In fact, I'm required to report that I believe Mrs. Walker poses a continued risk to your family. I'll be filing paperwork to recommend the protective order be extended to permanent status. After that conversation, we went from nervous to genuinely frightened. Diane wasn't getting better. She was still obsessed, still delusional, still fixated on our daughter. We should move, I said to Marcus. Out of Atlanta, somewhere she can't find us easily. That's letting her win, Marcus said. We shouldn't have to uproot our lives because my mother is unstable. We're not letting her win, I argued. We're protecting our daughter. Marcus, your mother tried to kidnap a baby once. Her therapist says she fantasizes about taking Layla. I'm not waiting around to see if she acts on it. We compromised. We didn't move out of Atlanta, but we moved to a different neighborhood, one with a gated entrance and better security. We changed our phone numbers. We locked down all social media. We made it as hard as possible for Diane to find us while staying in the city where we both had good jobs. For 6 months, it worked. No contact from Diane, no violations of the protective order, no unexpected appearances. We started to relax, thinking maybe Dr. Chen's warnings had been overly cautious. Then, Diane found us. Or more accurately, she found my parents' restaurant. I got a call from my mother, speaking rapid Urdu, clearly upset. That woman was here, Marcus's mother. She came to the restaurant asking about you. What did she say? I demanded. She said she was Layla's grandmother, that she just wanted to see her. She asked when you usually visit, what days you bring Layla. I told her we don't give out family information and she needed to leave. She got angry, started saying we're keeping her grandchild from her. Your father had to threaten to call the police before she left. Did you call the police after? Yes, they came and took a report, but she was already gone. I called the police myself, reporting a protective order violation. She's not allowed to contact us or try to find us through family. Coming to my parents' restaurant to ask about us is indirect contact. The police went to Diane's registered address, a small apartment in a less nice part of town, a far cry from her previous suburban house. She claimed she'd just been in the neighborhood, near my parents' restaurant, and had stopped by to say hello to her in-laws. That's a violation of the spirit of the protective order, the police officer told us. But technically, she didn't directly contact you or Layla. We gave her a warning, but we can't arrest her for going to a public restaurant. So she can harass my parents and nothing happens? I was furious. Unless she directly contacts you or comes near your home or Layla's daycare, our hands are tied, the officer said. But we've documented this incident. If there are more, we can build a case for stalking. So we have to wait for her to escalate before you can protect us, Marcus said bitterly. The officer looked sympathetic but firm. I'm sorry, that's how the law works. We warned my parents to be vigilant, to call police immediately if Diane showed up again, to never ever give her information about us or Layla. We won't, my father promised. That woman is unstable. We will protect our grandchild. 2 weeks later, Diane found a different angle. She contacted Marcus's father, Michael, asking for help, reconnecting with her family. Michael called Marcus immediately. Your mother reached out. She's asking me to mediate, to help her see Layla. What did you tell her? Marcus asked. That she needs to respect the protective order and focus on her treatment, Michael said. That reaching out through me is inappropriate. I shut it down, Marcus, but she's getting desperate. She's not giving up. Why? I asked. Layla is 2 years old now. Diane missed her entire babyhood. Why is she still fixated? Because she's mentally ill, Michael said. And because Diane has never accepted not getting what she wants. This isn't about Layla as a person. This is about Diane's ego and her delusions about what she's entitled to. We increased security, added more cameras, started varying our routines so Diane couldn't predict where we'd be. I felt like we were in witness protection from Marcus's own mother. This is insane, I told Marcus when Layla was 2.5. We're raising our daughter in a state of siege because your mother can't accept reality. I know, Marcus said, exhausted. I'm sorry. I never thought my mother would be the threat to our family. It's not your fault, I said. But we need a permanent solution. This protective order expires in 2 years. What happens then? We fight to make it permanent, Marcus said. Dr. Chen will testify. We have documentation of all these violations. We build a case that Diane will never be safe around our family. But I wondered, was documentation enough? Diane had violated her hospital ban and gotten arrested. She'd served jail time. She'd had therapy. And she was still obsessed, still fixated, still trying to insert herself into our lives. How far would she go? What would it take for her to finally give up? We didn't want to find out, but we had a feeling we'd eventually have no choice. The final confrontation came on Layla's 3rd birthday. We'd planned a small party at our house, just family and a few friends from daycare. My parents, Marcus's father Michael, Layla's little friends. No social media posts, no public announcement, just a private celebration. We didn't advertise the party, didn't post about it online, but somehow Diane found out. She showed up at 2 p.m. right as we were singing Happy Birthday, carrying an enormous gift bag and wearing a dress that screamed special occasion. Surprise, she called out, walking through our front gate like she'd been invited. Grandma's here for the birthday girl. Everything stopped. The singing cut off. Layla, standing in front of her unicorn cake, looked confused. My mother immediately moved toward Layla protectively. Marcus moved toward Diane, his face furious. You can't be here. You have a protective order? Oh, that, Diane waved her hand dismissively. That's expired. I checked with my lawyer. The 5 years are up next month. I'm just a little early. It doesn't expire for another month, I said coldly. And you're within 500 feet of our home and our child. That's a violation. I'm just here for my granddaughter's birthday, Diane said, looking at Layla. "Hello, sweetheart. Remember Grandma?" Layla had never met Diane. She'd been 3 days old when Diane was arrested and had no memory of her. She looked at this stranger with appropriate wariness. "Mama," she said, turning to me. "It's okay, baby," I said, already pulling out my phone to call 911. "This lady is leaving." "I'm not leaving," Diane said, her voice rising. "It's my granddaughter's birthday. I have a right to be here." "You have no rights," Marcus said, physically positioning himself between Diane and Layla. "You called her ugly when she was born. You've been violating protective orders trying to find her. You're not welcome here." "She was ugly as a newborn," Diane said matter-of-factly, and I heard gasps from the other parents at the party. "All mixed babies look strange at first, but I can see she's grown into herself. She actually looks like the Walker family now. She's acceptable." The words hit like a slap. Acceptable. She was calling our 3-year-old daughter acceptable, as if her worth was determined by how closely she matched Diane's racial preferences. "Get out," I said, my voice shaking with rage. "Now, before the police arrive." "You're keeping my grandchild from me out of spite," Diane said, and now she was playing to the other parents, to the audience. "I've tried to see her for 3 years. I've sent gifts, cards, everything. They returned them all. They've poisoned her against me." "You went to jail for trying to kidnap a baby," Marcus said loudly, making sure everyone heard. "You called our daughter ugly in the delivery room. You violated a protective order multiple times. We haven't poisoned her against you. You destroyed any relationship yourself." "That was a misunderstanding years ago," Diane said. "I've gotten help. I've served my time. I deserve a second chance." "This would be your 4th or 5th chance," I said. "First chance was after you tried to kidnap a baby. Second chance was when you violated your hospital ban. Third chance was every time we didn't press charges when you violated the protective order. You don't get more chances." Police sirens in the distance. One of the other parents had called 911. Diane heard them and her expression changed, from false sweetness to calculation. "Fine," she said. "But remember this day. Remember that you kept a grandmother from her grandchild's birthday party. When Layla grows up and asks why she doesn't have a grandma, remember it was your choice." "When Layla grows up, I'll tell her the truth," I said, "that her grandmother called her ugly, tried to kidnap other babies, and was so toxic we had to get a protective order. And I'll tell her we protected her from someone who couldn't love her unconditionally." Police arrived as Diane was leaving. They took statements from us, from the other parents who'd witnessed her violation. One officer recognized Diane from previous calls. "Mrs. Walker, you were explicitly ordered to stay 500 feet from this family. You're in their front yard. That's a clear violation." "I was just leaving," Diane said quickly. "No harm done. I just wanted to see my granddaughter." "You're under arrest for violating a protective order," the officer said, pulling out handcuffs. "Again. Ma'am, this is your 3rd documented violation. The judge is not going to be lenient this time." As they handcuffed her, Diane looked at Marcus. "You're choosing them over your own mother. Your own blood. You'll regret this." "No," Marcus said quietly. "I'm choosing my daughter over a woman who judges 3-year-olds as acceptable based on skin tone. I'm choosing my family over someone who's shown she can't love unconditionally. And I'll never regret protecting my child from you." Diane was led away, still protesting, still playing victim. The party was ruined. Layla was upset by the commotion. The other parents were uncomfortable. The celebration was over. But as we cleaned up later, after everyone had gone home and Layla was napping, Marcus and I felt something we hadn't felt in 3 years. Relief. "She violated the protective order in front of multiple witnesses," Marcus said, "including police officers. She's going back to jail, and this time the judge can make the protective order permanent." "Do you think she'll ever stop?" I asked. "No," Marcus said honestly. "I think she'll die believing she was wronged. But with a permanent protective order and her pattern of violations documented, at least we have legal protection." 2 weeks later, we were back in court. Diane stood before the same judge who'd sentenced her 3 years ago, now facing a 3rd violation of protective orders. "Mrs. Walker," the judge said, looking over the file, "we've been here before, multiple times. You went to jail for attempted kidnapping. You violated a hospital ban. You've violated protective orders 3 times now. When will you accept that you are not entitled to access to this family? They're my family, Diane said. That's my son, my granddaughter. They are people with legal rights to keep you away from them, the judge corrected. You called your granddaughter ugly minutes after birth. You tried to kidnap a different infant years ago. You've shown no genuine remorse, no real change. You're still fixated, still delusional, still obsessed. I've completed all my therapy, and yet you violated a protective order to crash a 3-year-old's birthday party, where you told her parents she was acceptable now that she looks more like you wanted, the judge interrupted. That's not progress. That's continued dysfunction. The judge sentenced Diane to 18 months in jail and issued a permanent protective order. Mrs. Walker will have no contact with the Walker family, Marcus Walker, Zara Ahmed Walker, or Layla Walker, for the rest of her natural life. This is a permanent order. Any violation will result in immediate arrest and additional charges. Mrs. Walker, you have destroyed your relationship with your family through your own actions. You will not have another chance. Diane was led away, still insisting she was the victim, still claiming discrimination. But this time Marcus didn't flinch. He just held my hand and we walked out of that courthouse knowing we were finally, legally, permanently free. Layla is 7 years old now. She's smart, funny, kind, and beautiful. A perfect blend of Marcus and me, with her father's warm brown skin with my olive undertones, dark curly hair, and hazel eyes. She's exactly what a child of ours should be, and she's grown up knowing she's loved unconditionally by her parents. Grandparents, my parents and Marcus's father Michael, aunts, uncles, and extended family. She doesn't remember Diane, doesn't remember the birthday party confrontation when she was 3. When she asks about Daddy's mommy, we tell her age-appropriate truths. Grandma Diane has some problems, Marcus explains. Problems that make it hard for her to be a good grandma. So we had to keep our family safe by not seeing her. Did she do something bad? Layla asks with the directness of a 7-year-old. She hurt people's feelings and broke rules, Marcus says, which is true enough for now. When you're older, we'll tell you more. But the important thing is, you're loved by lots of people who love you for exactly who you are. Okay, Layla says easily, and goes back to playing. She doesn't feel like she's missing anything because she's never known Diane as a grandmother. We hear about Diane occasionally through extended family. She served her 18 months, was released, and moved to Florida. She's working as a receptionist, living alone in a small apartment. And according to Michael, who still gets occasional updates through distant relatives, she's still insisting she was wrongly persecuted by us. She tells people we're keeping Layla from her out of spite, Michael reports. That the protective order is unjust. She's made herself the victim in her own story. Of course she has, Marcus says without surprise. She'll never take responsibility. Has she tried to contact you? I ask Michael. No, she knows I support you. She's cut off everyone who didn't take her side. So Diane lives in Florida, isolated by her own choices, still believing she's the victim. Meanwhile, we live in Atlanta, happy and healthy, raising Layla and her younger brother Amir, born 2 years ago with 0 drama, thank God, in a home full of love. My parents are wonderful grandparents, teaching Layla Urdu, cooking Pakistani food with her, telling her stories about Karachi. Michael is an attentive grandfather, taking the kids to the park, teaching them about their Black American heritage. They're growing up knowing where they come from, proud of both sides of their family. Do you think Diane will ever try to contact us again? I ask Marcus sometimes. The protective order is permanent, Marcus says. If she does, she goes to jail. I think she's finally learned that lesson. But do you think she's actually changed? Or just given up? Given up, Marcus says without hesitation. Changed would mean taking responsibility, and she's incapable of that. She's given up because the consequences finally outweighed her obsession. We still have security cameras, still have alerts at the kids' schools, still take precautions, but we're not living in constant fear anymore. We're just being prudent. Sometimes I think about that moment in the delivery room, 19 hours of labor, exhausted and vulnerable, hearing Diane call my minutes-old daughter ugly. How much that hurt. How violated I felt. But then I think about what happened next, Security revealing Diane's secret, exposing her attempted kidnapping, leading to her arrest. That moment of vindication, of protection, of justice. Do you regret how everything happened? I asked Marcus recently. I regret that my mother is who she is, Marcus said. I wish Layla and Amir could have a paternal grandmother who was healthy and loving. But I don't regret protecting them from Diane. That's my job as their father, to keep them safe, even from family. Especially from family when necessary. He's right. Protecting our children from toxic family members, even grandparents, isn't cruel. It's necessary. And sometimes, like in our case, the legal system supports that protection. I work in pharmaceutical security now, helping hospitals develop protocols to prevent incidents like what Diane did, impersonating nurses, attempting to access infants without authorization. My experience with Diane gave me passion for this work. I've helped implement systems that have prevented at least a dozen potential kidnapping situations. You turned your trauma into protection for others, my supervisor said during my last review. That's powerful. Marcus specializes in therapy for new parents now, particularly parents dealing with toxic family members. He helps people set boundaries, understand that protecting children sometimes means cutting off relatives, navigate the guilt that comes with choosing their nuclear family over their extended family. People think family is everything, Marcus tells his clients. But toxic family is worse than no family. Your job is to protect your kids, not manage adults' feelings. He's teaching other people what we learned the hard way. Last month, we got notice that Diane had filed paperwork to have the protective order lifted. She claimed she'd gotten help and deserved to know her grandchildren. We appeared in court with Dr. Chen, who testified that Diane had contacted her asking for a letter supporting the protective order removal. I declined, Dr. Chen told the judge. Mrs. Walker has not demonstrated genuine change. She still exhibits delusional thinking about her entitlement to access to the family. She still cannot accept responsibility for her actions. The judge denied Diane's request. The protective order stands. Permanent. How does that make you feel? I asked Marcus after. Relieved, he said, and sad. It's permanent proof that my mother will never be safe for my kids. But it's also protection. Legal, enforceable protection. You made the right choice, I said. 3 years ago, 5 years ago, today, always the right choice. Our kids are growing up knowing their worth isn't based on their appearance or how well they match someone's expectations. They're growing up knowing they're loved for who they are. Mixed-race kids with Pakistani and Black heritage, bridging cultures, creating their own identities. They're growing up without a toxic grandmother who would have judged them, rejected them, tried to mold them into something they're not. They're growing up safe and happy and loved. And that baby, the one Diane called ugly in a delivery room 7 years ago, is beautiful, brilliant, kind, and perfect. Everything her grandmother couldn't see because she was too blinded by her own prejudices and obsessions. Diane lost the chance to know her granddaughter because she couldn't love her unconditionally. That's not our failure. That's hers. And Layla will grow up knowing that her parents protected her from someone who couldn't see her value, that we chose her safety over family obligation. That love means protection, not tolerance of abuse. When people ask if we feel guilty keeping the kids from their grandmother, I say no. Because we're not keeping them from a grandmother. We're protecting them from a woman who tried to kidnap babies, called newborns ugly, and judged children by their skin color. That's not a grandmother. That's a threat we're legally protected from, and we'll never apologize for protecting our children.